All right, we're going to take your calls in our second segment at 877-300-7645. Got a special guest coming up at the bottom of the hour, Dave Briski from the Youngevity corporate office. Dave Briski CFO is going to share with us some information, some good stuff about what's going on with Youngevity in terms of CFO perspective, Chief Financial Officer perspective. That'll be coming up at the bottom of the hour. So we'll get to your calls here in our second segment at 877-300-7645. I want to continue on a little bit with our gas hormones. The hormones, the communication elements in the body, how cells communicate with each other. You got 100 trillion cells, and that's kind of an incomprehensible idea, just that alone. The whole body is really incomprehensible, how the whole thing works in terms of its microscopic nature, its tiny, tiny, tiny cellular nature. But as far as hormones go, that really is kind of a crazy idea, how cells literally will communicate or talk to each other using chemicals. We talked about endocrine hormones, insulin and thyroid hormone and cortisol, and there's lots of different hormones. Yesterday at the end of the program, we had a question about the prostate gland. The prostate also makes hormones. When you think of a gland, think hormones. But there's also these gas hormones, these vapor hormones that are misted out of cells, and they spread over wide patches of tissue to cause things to open and close and clot and unclot and fire and not fire. Yesterday we talked about carbon monoxide as an interesting gas hormone that's involved with wound healing and trauma and liver injury. Yesterday we said that melatonin has a supportive role for carbon monoxide functioning, how carbon monoxide functions as a hormone. Same with vitamin C, same with vitamin E. Another important nutrient that can support carbon monoxide activity and carbon monoxide production is the amino acid taurine. I love this stuff. Taurine, we've talked about it in the past. It's important for brain health and heart health. It's an electrically stabilizing amino acid for anyone dealing with seizure disorders or bipolar disorder, anxiety, or any hyper-excitability state, insomnia, ADD. Anyone dealing with any kind of jittery chemistry disorder. Taurine is important for stabilizing that kind of energy. It's important for sugar metabolism, for hypo or hyperglycemia, elevated blood sugar or low blood sugar. And it also is involved in helping the liver make bile. And it supports carbon monoxide production. Taurine contributes an element of sulfur, which has a protective effect. And this is what gives taurine its ability to dampen or soften electrical energy, to stabilize disorganized, chaotic electrical energy. And this is why you'll find it in energy drinks like Red Bull. Red Bull actually gets its name from its taurine content. Taur, T-A-U-R, is the Greek term for bull. And taurine was originally, the original place where taurine was found was ox bile, T-A-U-R, meaning bull, and thus the name Red Bull because of its taurine content. Taurine's pretty difficult to get from foods. If you want to get some taurine in your system, you're going to have to eat a lot of meat or seafood. Flesh foods in general and seafood contain taurine. Dairy, eggs, high-protein foods pretty much are your main sources of taurine. If you're a vegan, you're going to be in trouble. We seem to say this a lot. If you're a vegan, you're going to be in trouble. Sorry to say, vegans. I'm all for being kind to animals, but unfortunately, as human beings, we're meant to eat animals, at least in terms of nutrition. It's hard to get all the nutrients you need unless you eat flesh, unless you eat animals. And that's just chemistry, guys. I'm not making a political statement here. So if you're a vegan and you want to make sure you're getting enough taurine, you're going to have to supplement. In fact, everybody should, if you're interested in getting taurine, don't count on getting it from food. In fact, don't count on getting your nutrients from food in general. This idea that you can get everything you need from food is just nonsense. It's biochemically ignorant to think that you can meet your optimum nutritional needs by simply eating food. Supplementation is a must in the year 2014 going into the year 2015 in the United States of America or any other country for that matter because of processing and soil depletion. You know the story. We've talked about it many, many times in this program, and Dr. Wallach's been talking about it for decades. You can't get everything you need for optimum health from food. You got to supplement. If you're a vegan, it's that much more important. Or a vegetarian, it's that much more important to supplement. When it comes to taurine, the name itself tells you it's an animal vitamin or an animal nutrient. It's an amino acid that comes from animals. You'll get some in beans probably and some other high-protein veggies, but for the most part, you're going to need to eat animal products to get taurine or you're going to need to supplement. And if you have any kind of jittery, anxiety, insomnia, seizure disorders, if you have problems with making bile, gallbladder problems, or if you're interested in upregulating carbon monoxide, 100 to 200 milligrams of taurine supplementally would probably be a good idea. All right, there's another important gas hormone, vapor hormone, mist hormone that's super fascinating. It's rotten egg hormone. It smells like rotten eggs. More specifically, it's the stuff that makes rotten eggs have their characteristic stink. And this hormone is called hydrogen sulfide. It's basically a type of sulfur gas. Sulfur is stinky. Sulfur has a sort of stinky quality, and sulfur has always historically been associated with burning. Dante, of Dante's Inferno fame, was thinking about sulfur when he described the environment of hell in his book, Dante's Inferno. The Inferno was hell, and Dante was thinking about brimstone. That's the ancient name for sulfur. Brimstone comes from the Old English term for burning, burnstone or brimstone. Sulfur can burn hot, and sulfur can smell bad. We spent a lot of time a couple of months ago talking about the importance of sulfur. If you're interested, you can go to the archive page, Ben Fuchs Archives, or brightsideben.com, and search sulfur. I'm not going to get into it too much now, but I do want to talk a little bit about hydrogen sulfide and its importance as a gas hormone. But we'll take your phone calls here in our next segment at 877-300-7645 and save that for our next Brightside episode. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away. Welcome, Richie, to the Bright Side. What's going on?
Hey, how are you, Ben? Can you hear me okay?
I hear you loud and clear. What's up, my friend?
All right. So I had a recent episode, and I wanted you to kind of like just explain to me exactly what was going on,
Sure.
what was happening to me. Pretty much, I know I understand. I had this a few times. I don't know if it's indigestion or heartburn, but it does relate to food. Whenever I eat or get overzealous, eating certain types of food that might be too sugary or, too fatty, oily, or fried food.
Describe what you're feeling when you eat those kinds of foods.
It's kind of like you get a pain in your stomach, kind of like the world. You feel like the world is just coming to end. Like it's just very, very
be more specific. Like pain, like a knife, or pain like nausea.
Just like kind of, because what happened is that I tend to get dizzy.
Really?
And yeah, it happens. It's kind of like it's inside. I don't know exactly how to explain it. It starts off slow and then gradually increases the pain.
Okay.
And
Got it.
like I said, what happened recently was just kind of like what happened worried because I passed out. Usually I pass out for I guess I faint, and then
that's a sign of shock. It doesn't really matter the specifics of it, Richie. It's a sign of shock or a sign of distress, a sign of major emergency in the body after you're eating. And there could be several reasons for that. The most important thing to do, step number one, is see if you can get specific foods and try to isolate the specific foods that are causing the problem, and then also try to find foods that you're okay with and sort of distinguish those two types of foods. And that will kind of give us an idea of more some exactitude of what exactly the chemical breakdown or the chemical issue is that's going on in the body. So see if you could step number one, see if you can link the symptoms to specific foods. The symptoms, as you're describing, are a sign of major distress, almost like shock. Sounds like your blood vessels are opening up, and that's what the dizziness and the anxiety is being caused from it. And until I know the specific foods, I can't give you the exact kind of chemical issues.
Because after I come out of that, from waking up, my body automatically I have a bowel movement, and I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, it's because the bowel movement is your body trying to eliminate whatever you ate. Diarrhea, loose stools, immediate sensations that you need to evacuate are a sign that the body just got a poison and it's trying to get rid of it. So, if you're not processing the food correctly, that makes sense. So, step number one: isolate specific foods that are causing the problems. The second thing you want to do is you want to start using some probiotics, good bacteria. This is the main place where there's a lot of places, but one of the main places where food processing goes awry. So get yourself on the Biolumin Nightly Essence, do 3 capsules, and actually do 3 capsules 3 times a day. Usually I tell people to do 6 capsules a day. You should probably be doing 9 capsules a day. And in addition, if you can handle cabbage soup, which is a great and a soothing kind of food. The cabbage has got something in it called vitamin U, which has it's not really a vitamin, it's just a kind of a compound or food complex that can coat the digestive tract and soothe the digestive system. That's what you should be subsisting on, is cabbage soup and fermented cabbage also, as much as you can. If you can do bone soup, that will also help. I'm sure you've heard me talk about bone soup now that Thanksgiving's coming up. Many people have a turkey carcass, and if you don't want to scrape all the meat off the turkey carcass, just take that carcass and toss it in a big old pot of boiling water and turn it into soup. And the cartilage that comes off the turkey bones will melt in the liquid, and it's got a real nice soothing effect on the digestive system. Use a little apple cider vinegar in the soup to dissolve the cartilage. And by the way, apple cider vinegar can also have a nice palliative soothing effect on the digestive system. Probably a good idea to use some ultimate enzymes after your meals, especially if you're eating complex meals with lots of working parts to them. And always use your ultimate enzymes with a little bit of apple cider vinegar. The apple cider vinegar activates the digestive enzymes. If I were you, I'd be using some of the Z radical, or the fucoidan Z actually is a little bit more effective, a little bit more bang for your buck. And those are the capsules. If you like the Z radical, that's tastier probably, but you don't get as much of the active ingredient that you do in the fucoidan Z. 3 capsules in the morning, 3 capsules at night is good. And then some glutamine powder, very soothing for the digestive system. Glutamine powder, you can get that anywhere pretty much at a health food store or the internet. But you can also use whey protein if you don't have a problem with the whey protein. Whey protein, in addition to being nature's finest source of building protein, along with eggs and whey protein, whey is also very important for digestive health. It helps support the proliferation or the growth of good bacteria in the gut. It's technically called a prebiotic. Plus, it can help, the amino acids in the whey protein can help rebuild the digestive lining, and you'll also get some of that glutamine as well. Now, you're also going to want to make sure that you're using the Mighty 90 essential nutrients just to get your basic building block nutrients, especially the essential fatty acids. That's more of a long-term kind of thing, though. Not that it's less important, but it's not going to give you the immediate results that the glutamine powder will, and the apple cider vinegar, and the probiotics, and looking out for the problem foods. And last but not least, and this is a very important strategy as we're coming into the holidays when people are thinking about eating lots of food and overeating. And I don't talk about this too much on the program, but it's very important to recognize that there are psychological aspects that can be manipulated if we have food or eating problems or digestive problems. See if you can, next time you feel like eating, and this is true for everybody, not just for Richie, but the next time you feel like eating or you feel like you're hungry, see if you can sense where you're feeling that hunger from. You see, there's 2 places where we feel hunger. We feel hunger mentally, and we feel hunger physiologically in our stomachs and our digestive area, in the belly area. So if you can notice where you're feeling that hunger, if you feel the hunger in the belly area, that means you probably should be eating a little bit of something. And I say a little bit, I mean, sometimes you only need a bite or 2. But see if you notice that you're eating mentally, psychologically, if you just kind of think you want to eat. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, that sounds good. Sometimes we say, oh, that sounds good. In other words, we eat with our ears. We eat by the sound of it. Or sometimes we'll eat because we want a little bit of taste on our tongue. Or sometimes we just are bored or we're emotionally distressed and we want to eat. That's the kind of eating behavior that's easy to wean ourselves off of as long as we place our attention in the right place. So if you have a psychological or mental or emotional need to eat, or something sounds good but you're not necessarily hungry, move your attention from your head, from your thoughts, from your mind, and from your tongue. A lot of times we eat from our tongue. Place your attention, Richie, down on the belly area, and you'll find that if you have any kind of belly distress, or you're full, or even if you're don't have any digestive problems, you'll find that a lot of times you don't want to eat from your digestive system, you don't want to eat from your belly, and you don't want to eat from the lower part of your body. If that's the case, it'll be much easier to wean yourself off of or completely eliminate the desire to eat. Does that make sense? Move your attention around, see where you want to eat from. And in fact, if you do it right now, for you guys, if you're feeling like you're hungry, Richie, or anybody who's listening, if you're feeling like you're hungry right now, see if you notice where you're hungry from. See if you can notice that you're hungry either from your head or your ears because something sounds good, or your tongue because you want some flavor, or you're truly hungry, which is where you're kind of feeling it in your belly area. And if you can distinguish those 2 kinds of drives for eating, it can make it much easier to wean yourself off of foods, to eat less food, and also to lose weight, by the way. Thanks for your call, Richie. We got to move on. If I left you on hold, I apologize. Call back tomorrow. We'll get you first up. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We're coming back right after this. Okay, we are back on the bright side. Thank you for joining us. We got a special guest coming up this half hour. CFO, Chief Financial Officer of Youngevity, a guy I've known for a couple years now. met Dave. I talked to Dave a couple of months ago at the CEO conference in Las Vegas, and Dave said, hey, I got some good stuff to share about Youngevity's financial setup. So I thought we'd have Dave on the program. We've been trying to get him on for a couple months, so it's my pleasure to welcome Dave Briski, Chief Financial Officer, to the Bright Side. What's up, David?
How you doing, Ben? Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you for wanting to be on our show. So I want to talk about some of the stuff that's going on with Youngevity, but before we do that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved with Youngevity, how long you've been with Youngevity, and what your take is on the whole multi-level phenomena, all the stuff that's going on with network marketing.
You know, Ben, my background actually is more traditionally oriented. I went to school up at Fordham University in New York City and really followed more a traditional path, built a pretty significant business with a gentleman by the name of Drew Pearson, the former Dallas Cowboy. We built a very large apparel business. And
I didn't know that. So tell me a little bit about that. How did you meet Drew? I used to love watching him play.
I met Drew. Common attorneys introduced us. I was going down a real estate path, and I was kind of getting tired of being as good as my last deal. And I really was looking to build a business that when I actually went to sleep, it would actually, could still work for me. And that was at the ripe old age of 27 years old.
Nice.
And I got introduced to Drew and actually cut a deal for equity. And we grew a business from 4 people to 4,000 over 17 years,
Wow.
Basically a startup, and ended up building the largest headwear manufacturing facility in Shenzhen, China. So that's a 17-year whirlwind, and that's probably time you and I can spend over dinner sometime, and I'll tell you that.
That's great. That's great to know. Oh, that's awesome. So I used to watch Drew all the time. I thought the guy's fantastic to watch. I didn't realize he's a savvy businessman as well.
Yeah, he's a really good human being, great guy.
So you got involved with Drew, and you'd started an apparel business, and a successful apparel business.
Right, and from there, when I was exiting that business, I made an investment in a few companies, and one of those companies was a company called Javalution Coffee Company, which is where my ties are to coffee. So I was looking for a change, and I made some investments, and I invested in that particular company. And when I exited on the exit strategy, when we took Drew Pearson public, I actually left and became the CEO of Javalution Coffee Company. So from investor to CEO, and that company was really somewhat of a startup company, and ended up taking that public in 2009 on a self-filing, self-registration statement, which is very difficult to do these days. And that's really the bridge that gets us to Youngevity, because the product line that Javalution had was a product called JavaFit, and was the blending of coffee with supplements, which I thought was a really cool idea, kind of like what Vitamin Water was doing at the time.
You did with coffee.
The second most consumed beverage in the world, and here we go with supplements. This would be a really cool idea. So we entered into that business and realized that we didn't have the capital structure to take it retail, so we decided we were either going to go infomercial or network marketing. And we chose the network marketing path, and actually was going pretty well. We had bought our coffee roaster, and it was going pretty decent. But after a couple of years, I realized I just didn't know enough about this space, and I needed to align myself with people that were smarter than me and had more experience, at least on the direct selling side or network side. And I got introduced to Steve Wallach, the Wallach family. And fortunately for me, they were looking to get into to be public. They wanted to be able to share stock with their distributors through something that we had implemented at Javalution, which was a stock option program. And they thought that was a pretty novel idea and would be a great way to share ownership with their large distributor base. And it so happened that they wanted to get into the coffee business. So it was kind of this perfect storm. So I met Steve and Dr. Wallach and Michelle and the whole team over there. And eventually, in July of 2011, we merged our businesses together. And that's how Youngevity became a public company.
I never knew that story. Now, how difficult was it to make coffee taste as delicious as JavaFit and include supplements? Was that a tricky kind of process, or did you have anything to do with that?
Yeah, actually, I was involved in that. I mean, it was started before me as an investor, but we really fine-tuned it. And the key really is to really make it work, you have to start with the best base coffee. So JavaFit's regular coffee is probably the best coffee you'll ever drink anywhere. So you have to start with that, and then you have to work really, really hard to find the right supplement mix, if you will, to blend it to make it taste good. And I think we've accomplished that pretty well.
Now, I'm not a coffee drinker, so forgive me for asking this, but when you use the JavaFit, when you drink JavaFit, do the nutrients, the vitamins, and the minerals in the JavaFit, can you drink more coffee without getting the buzz kind of thing, or do you not get a buzz, or do you get a better buzz, or how does that work? How does it affect the coffee effect? How do the nutrients change the coffee effect?
It really, the coffee effect is the same coffee effect that you would get drinking a regular cup of coffee. In fact, it's pretty much the same amount of caffeine. But on our energy coffee, which essentially is coffee blended with green tea extract, it's kind of interesting. You get the lift, if you will, from coffee, but then you get the sustainability or without the crash, if you will, from the green tea. So that's a coffee that people seem to enjoy.
And how many different JavaFits are there in the line that we have?
There's a diet, an energy, and a mushroom coffee, which has the 14 beneficial mushrooms, which we call Java Impact. It's really cool coffee, actually.
And it doesn't affect the flavor? None of these things affect the flavor, change the flavor?
There's a different flavor, for sure. And then, of course, we have all of our complete line of regular coffees, and then we have the Be the Change coffee, which is in whole bean. And our coffee, I think you probably know, we own our own plantations that we just acquired this year in Nicaragua. So, we're talking rainforest certified, fair trade, organic coffee. So our regular coffees are fantastic as well.
So this horizontal integration that Youngevity is involved with, where they own different aspects of the manufacturing process and the ingredient process, et cetera, is that unique? Or is that singular in the world of multi-level? I haven't heard of that. Or am I missing something?
In coffee, it certainly is. It's not really unique. The really successful companies, the one that reach the billion-dollar milestones, actually have a vertical integration where they own more and more of their own manufacturing. And that's something that is going to be in the cards as we launch our program to become more and more successful. Our core 90 for Life product, as an example, is a product that I would like to see, and I know Steve Wallach would as well, one day that we would manufacture that in our own facility. So I think the larger you get, the more you can become vertical. By nature of our merger that we were already in the coffee business, we just were able to grab the benefits of vertical integration because of that particular set of circumstances. So now we have a true field-to-cup situation where we have coffee we're growing on our own plantations in Nicaragua. We're processing in our own processing plants. We have an 18-acre facility there. We're exporting it to our roasting operation in Miami, which has 50,000 square feet, and then we're private labeling that to Carnival Cruise Lines. We have our own brands, and of course, we have a vertical play into, because our coffee roasting operation is completely owned. It's a wholly owned subsidiary of Youngevity, so it makes all of the Youngevity coffee. So there's that vertical play, and it's pretty exciting.
That is super exciting. Well, that'll lead us to our next topic. I want to talk about some of the financial things that are going on with Youngevity when we come back from our break. We're talking to Dave Briski, CFO of Youngevity. Hopefully we'll have Dave on a regular basis, and we're going to talk a little of the money aspects, some of the exciting stuff that's going on from a financial perspective with Youngevity when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. Okay, we are back on The Bright Side talking to CFO of Youngevity, Dave Briski. Talked a little bit about how Dave got involved with the company in Javalution Coffee. Dave, tell us a little bit about what's going on currently with the Youngevity. Third quarter just ended, so tell us a little bit about what's going on financially with Youngevity.
Yeah, and we're pretty proud of our performance here, and I appreciate the opportunity to get on your program, and I'm kind of making the rounds because it's really time to start telling the Youngevity story to Wall Street. We're a public company, and the company's really starting to really be recognized in the direct selling world, but hasn't really the story hasn't been told well enough to Wall Street, and so it's a great opportunity to be able to do this. Our third quarter was really phenomenal. We ended up growing 77% over Q3 of last year. So those are pretty exciting numbers. But what's more exciting, Ben, is in the last 4 quarters, our growth has been pretty impressive. And in fact, the quarterly sales for the last 4 quarters, starting from Q4 of last year, was $22 million. The next quarter we did $26 million. In Q2 of this year, we did $32 million. And this last quarter, we did $37.5 million in sales. So, the company obviously is doing something right in terms of generating those revenues.
Dave, $22 million to $37 million in a year?
In a year, yeah, on a Q to Q to Q to Q basis, which is pretty impressive.
That's not nearly double. That's crazy. Is that right?
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, it is. Yeah. On an annualized basis, now we're looking at a $160 million business annualized. And last year's numbers in 2013, we did $85 million. So, the company is really doing some things right, and the field leadership at Youngevity is taking the word to the streets, and the coffee business. Inside of those numbers, keep in mind, because it is a wholly owned subsidiary, so these are consolidated numbers. The coffee business in that Q3 number grew 218% over last year. And the direct selling business grew 62%. So both ends of the company are growing at a very, very nice pace.
What's an average number for the business, for the direct selling business in general?
Well, it really depends, and it's a difficult question to answer. But I think most companies, if they were growing 10% Q over Q, they'd be pretty happy.
Wow, that is amazing. What do you attribute it to? Not as a CFO guy, not as a business guy, but just as a consumer, as a regular layperson. What do you attribute this to?
You know what, Ben? I attribute it to our business model is starting to catch on. It's a very, very unique business model that Youngevity has. You see a lot of competition out there that has 2 or 3 products, and it's easy to get the field to just be learned, if you will, on those 2 or 3 products. Here at Youngevity, we have 1,000 products. So a lot of people say, how can you try to do it that way? But in our minds, Steve Wallach, myself, and Bill, we talk about the vision of Youngevity. It's to build a company that always has the best products available. We provide our field transfer buying, if you will. We expect it to be your own mall to shop from. That type of model is a little more complicated, but we look at it as a model for the ages. We like to think of ourselves as the Amazon of the direct selling market, and I think that that strength is starting to catch on. And it just would make sense that with all of those products and our field leadership starting to understand the power of it, that we would be able to have this growth and sustain this growth for some time.
Are we at the point now where somebody could buy everything they need, from toothpaste to laundry detergent to dishware from Youngevity, or is there still places where you want to acquire companies and you want to acquire a product?
We're nowhere near where we'll be 10 years from now. But that's where we're heading. Our rule really for engagement in terms of products is a wholesome product. That's where we really want to fit in. You look at coffee as an example. If you're a member of Youngevity or just even a customer, why wouldn't you buy coffee from your, that's shade grown, high altitude from your own plantations instead of buying some other coffee off the store shelf? So we're looking for more items like that. As long as they're wholesome consumer products, I believe eventually they'll be added to the Youngevity mix.
So people who have a distributorship in Youngevity actually have a distributorship in 1,000 different products. We're carrying I'm selling 1,000 different products as a Youngevity distributor, correct?
You really are, and what we really do is to keep people that are a distributor focused is have them come in with something they're passionate about, and really the company through e-commerce and through its technology platform will start to help that distributorship with the marketing of those other products, so you don't get confused. So you can kind of stay in your lane in terms of what you really are passionate about, whether that's nutraceuticals or whether that's clothing or jewelry or whether that's coffee. And once you bring people in, then we will take it upon the company's shoulders to market all of these other products that we have, and over time, expand your mall, if you will, of items to shop from.
Nutraceuticals, coffee. What are a couple other products or product lines maybe that you're excited about?
There's so many. I think going into this time of the year, I'm pretty excited about our weight loss program, our Healthy Body Challenge. Everybody, here it is, Thanksgiving tomorrow. The holidays coming up. Most people, if you're normal people, and even people that are fairly health-minded, you have a tendency to overeat. And, on January 4th, we're putting it out there. We're already, everyone's starting to get involved. On the 4th of January, we're going to start our Healthy Body Challenge and get people healthy. And, I already have that date circled on my calendar, so I feel a little bit less guilty about tomorrow's festivities and how much I may eat. And that actually is going to be a partnership with Jordan Rubin and Sanjeev Javia, and that program's going to kick off on the 4th. And folks will start positioning themselves right now, but have their products ready to go, just knowing that on January 4th, they're going to get back into that healthy mindset. So I'm excited about that. And probably one in a different direction, the MK Collaborative, which is a collaborative with fashion designer Marissa Kenson, where we're doing women's clothing and jewelry. I think that's a pretty exciting and unique value proposition where women can own their own e-boutique and push their friends and family to their e-boutique and become kind of a fashionista, if you will, in the fashion business. So I think those two programs are pretty fitting for today, particularly with everyone doing Christmas shopping.
That's super cool. Now, this program reaches a lot of folks. Not everybody is involved with Youngevity, but a lot of folks are thinking about being involved with Youngevity. What would you tell somebody who's on the bubble, thinking about starting a business, not happy with their job or not happy with the amount of money that they're making with their job, and they're on the bubble about multi-level, about network marketing, or even about Youngevity? What would you tell them?
Well, I think I would tell them, first of all, to do their due diligence. It is a business. I think the second thing I would tell them is, you know what? Anyone that tells you that this is easy, it's not. You have to, if you want to be successful, you have to work hard. But I will say this, in the area of direct selling or network marketing, there really is no better opportunity than Youngevity. If you feel that's the place you want to go, we're a very healthy company. You can earn stock options in the parent of the company. You have all of these products, and you have a commitment from management that we will keep bolting on new products, new businesses, and probably more importantly, bring you the best of the best that's out there. We are tirelessly working. I give so much credit to Steve Wallach. He is always trying to cannibalize our best product by delivering a better product. So why would you go anywhere else if you know that Youngevity is going to be the company that's going to bring you great stuff all the time? You don't have to get distracted. Youngevity brings you that good housekeeping stamp of approval, so to speak.
That's a great concept. Youngevity is kind of a gatekeeper for high-quality products in a very crowded marketplace that's filled with less than high-quality marketplace. Youngevity is kind of a gatekeeper or editor, if you will, to filter out the chaff and just provide the grain or the wheat. Did I say that accurately?
I think you did, and it's true. That's what we're all about. And the other thing is, and one of the things why I'm on here this show as well is telling the story. Our stock symbol is YGYI, and why is that important for those that are thinking about it? We're a public company, which means we're fully transparent. You can see behind the curtain at Youngevity, and we like it that way. So when you do your due diligence, you don't have to wonder the health of the company. And, we think that's an advantage to us in a difficult, like you said, competitive market. At Youngevity, there's no secrets. It's all there for you to see as we are a public company.
Dave, it's been a total pleasure. Thank you so much. We'll have you on every quarter. Is that okay? Can we have you on a regular basis?
Yeah, I'd love to be on right after each earnings announcement and keep this story going. And we'll dig into the stock opportunity at a later date.
Good deal, Dave Briski. Thank you so much. Happy holidays. Enjoy the skiing out there, and we'll talk to you again real soon on the air and hopefully in person as well. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Ben.
Have a beautiful holiday. That was Dave Briski, CFO of Youngevity, giving us the 411, the scoop, the full information on what's going on with the Youngevity company. If you've been on the bubble and you're thinking about adding a little extra income, you're not happy with how much money you're making, you're not happy with your job, whatever, you want to make an extra $100 a month or an extra $1,000 a month, an extra $10 or $20 or $30,000 a month, you can do it with Youngevity. I'd love to have you on my team, the Brightside Ben team. So head over to brightsideben.com, click on the Join the Team link. Let me help you build your Youngevity business. Thanks for listening, folks. Happy holidays to everybody. We'll be back at you Friday, and we'll continue talking about the gas hormones. Thanks so much, guys. Have a wonderful, beautiful, spectacular day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.